Hello students and welcome to the course introduction lesson C1. This is the first of 4 lessons where the first one we will cover the vision that I have for the course. You will have a chance to influence the course, some aspects of it, and eventually you will also write an introduction letter. The course introduction is divided into 4 lessons, and there will be videos covering these lessons as well. But as you can see, the next lesson will cover reading comprehension. Eventually, you will also cover listening comprehension, and at the end also your speaking skills. This is an overview of lesson C1. And we will actually not cover all of these parts in this video since, for example, the introduction letter is something that you will do at another point of time or during the lesson itself. The same thing is going to be happening with the influence part, which is also covered during class, but the other parts we will have a look at. So let's begin with part A, shall we? Getting to know each other. And to begin with, I have to tell you a little bit about myself. So my name is Fredrik Norman, also more known as Feke. And there's a lot of things that I enjoy in life, and I want to share some of them with you. My biggest passion in life is gaming. I have been gaming since I was a very little boy, and still something that I enjoy to this day. Apart from that, I'm also very fond of teaching. I see it as one of my passions, and I truly enjoy my job. Apart from that, I have a great interest in fashion. I play music, I enjoy traveling, and I also spend a lot of time learning languages. And just like you, I've also progressed through the school system where I began as a little boy with a mushroom haircut, and then I had my cool years, and then eventually a lot of other things happened. But to sum up, I leveled up. I also went through the school system, and I've also studied to this day as an adult. And because of that, I feel that I have a close contact to what it means to be a student in school. And because of this, I think a lot about teaching and the ways that I want to teach and to make sure that it is as good as possible. Therefore, I want to share with you my vision as a teacher. And as a student that studies this class, I want you to be the absolute happiest students there could be. That is the thing that I really do want to focus on. The happiness of you is number one. So for example, if there's any case where you feel any stress related to class, or you know that feeling in your gut when something just isn't right, I really hope that you will contact me and let me know why this is the case, and I will do my absolute best to help you solve that. Secondly, naturally, I want you to learn the absolute most that you can, and to make this course something that makes you feel that you're progressing, something that will truly lift you to become a better English speaker, English writer, reader, or listener. Thirdly, one of the things that I want to focus on is to create an atmosphere where you can feel that it's perfectly fine to fail. And sometimes we kind of need to fail as well in order to improve, and that it's okay. We all fail occasionally, and that is something that we share. And to have this atmosphere where we feel that we can actually we're supported by one another when failing, I hope this is something that we can create, and something that will help us all feel that we can test ourselves as well. Next, one of the things I want you to also get from this course is confidence. It is very important to feel that you are confident as a speaker, as a writer, as a listener, and a reader, because I know that it is something that sometimes can be a bit stressful when it comes to learning new and advanced topics. And also to become more creative. We will do a lot of different things in this class, and I want you to be able to not only learn things that are essential for the subject itself, but also some other skills that will be useful to you. And lastly, I really do hope that we can create a team feeling where you feel that I will fight for you and also that you will do your best to be part of this team. This is a part of the lesson that we won't cover in this video. It's an introduction where you create a name tag and where you introduce yourself. So we'll skip that right now. And then carry on to the B part, which is the course overview. The English course that we are going to look at today, English 7, is based around 4 key skills. At the top in yellow, we have to understand spoken and written English. The right, the greenish color, says the ability to adapt according to different situations. At the bottom, we have understand cultural and social conditions where English is used. And lastly, the ability to express and communicate written and spoken English. There's a difference there between expressing and communicating with other people. Some of you have already studied English 6, and I will like to cover some of the basic and main differences between these two courses. And English 7 in particular focuses on theory and more advanced language. So for example, when you will learn how to speak or how to write and how to discuss, we are going to look at different theories that will help you improve. And because of that, English 7 is far more academic compared to English 6. And another part that I also want you to become aware of is that you're expected to be able to know how to spell and to be grammatically correct. And this is one of particular things when it comes to English 7, that particular flexibility and the ability to be able to use the right word at the right time. This is where it becomes rather advanced, and we need to be able to have a broad and specific vocabulary that we need to be able to use in those situations. So because of that, when comparing to English 6, just being grammatically correct or when you spell words is quite not enough. Especially if you want to reach the higher grades, you will be able to do a little bit more to reach those grades. That comes back to the theory, which we will cover in another lesson. The course that I will teach you, English 7, is divided into these parts. As you can see, we have the course introduction, we have something known as Monroe's motivated sequence, the experience of the color purple, and so on. I'm now going to show you some symbols that are going to represent what skills we will actually cover throughout these different parts. As you can see, the course introduction, where we are right now, just as I told you at the beginning of this video, will include writing, reading, listening, and speaking. Whereas Monroe's motivated sequence, you can see that there's listening and speaking, and for example, the experiences of the color purple include reading and writing. You can also tell that the midway tests and the final tests only have writing and speaking. We will cover a little bit more about that later. But to give you an idea of what you can expect throughout these parts of the course, as I mentioned, the course introduction is where we are right now, and you are going to check your skills by taking Old English 7 tests. These are based from the ones published by NUFS, which are related to the national tests. However, they're not really called national tests in English 7, they're called kursprov. But it is important to note that halfway throughout the course, somewhere around Christmas time, we're going to try a few of these tests in a greater extent. And they will be graded according to the knowledge criteria that we have. So as a student, you can expect that halfway through, you're going to check out how far have I gotten, how am I doing in the course, and we'll be using these tests for that case. Monroe's motivated sequence is very interesting, and during that part of the course, you will be able to learn how to become a motivational speaker, but also to improve your listening skills. So in this case, we'll focus on speeches. During the experiences of the color purple, you are going to learn about theory known as post-colonial theory, and you will read a novel known as The Color Purple, and you will use that theory when you write an essay about the book itself. During the power of language, you will also focus on speaking, just like we did during Monroe's motivated sequence, but in this case, you're going to practice debating and also learn about rhetorics as a way of becoming even better at debating. And then we have a warning to the future. Here we will focus on academic writing, scientific articles, and you are going to write an essay about the future. And then lastly, we have the finals, also known as the actual kursprov themselves. And in this case, this is going to be writing and speaking once again. And this is the last thing we do throughout the course. And here I want to say a few things relating to practice and to assessment, because when you write those essays, during, for example, a warning to the future or the speeches where Monroe's motivated sequence, these should be considered as practice. What this means is that you will perform your speech, or you will write your essay, and you will receive feedback from me and from your peers, and also feed forward on those specific skills. Please consider this as a chance for you to grow. This is not going to be the only time that you will show me those skills, and because of this, I am not going to grade you during those parts. I want you to be able to grow, improve, and feel that you have many chances to show me how great you are at English. Then, in between those parts, we will have listening tests, reading tests, and also the midway and the final tests where we actually use those kursprov, or those like tests that are similar to the national tests. There we will use the knowledge requirements and the criteria, and here you will get a grade. The purpose of this is for you to feel that there's a chance to grow, and then every now and then you will be tested to see what your grade would have been as if you would have completed the course itself. This is a great video by Skolverket that covers exactly the way that teachers in Sweden grade. I'm not going to play this video right now, but anyone that wants to see it, I can recommend going to YouTube, looking it up there, and watch it. It's only about 4 minutes long, and it's essential when understanding the way teachers grade, because sometimes it's a little bit tricky. But I'm going to make a comparison here. I'm just gonna click this and stop it and then carry on, because I want to compare grading with learning how to drive a car. So when you're going to get your driver's license, you are going to take a theoretical test. That is one part that you will get tested on to see whether or not you've passed. And then you also will have the actual driving part. And this is where I want to make the comparison with school. So let's say that you take the theoretical test and you pass. That doesn't mean that you actually pass the entire testing itself to get the driver's license, and the same thing applies for school. You actually need to test all parts to know whether or not you passed, or if you feel that this didn't really go as planned. And if it doesn't go as planned, you go back and you try that part once again. Let's consider the same situation but in school relating to English. In this case, you begin the course English 7. You have your 4 skills that you need to become better at in order to pass the course. And then, once you've tested all those skills, that is with the time where you can actually receive a grade. Because let's say that you only practiced speaking, you can only receive feedback on that skill, or listening and so on, because there's going to be separate assessments for each skill. This is very important because some people feel that once they've passed one part, they can receive a grade for the entire course. But that is not correct. Instead, you need to be able to wait and try the different parts and stay in contact with me as your teacher, and I will let you know how you are progressing. And just like with the driver's test, once you've tested them all, you can see like, okay, this is something that I'm really good at, but there are other parts where you might need to practice some more. And then you go back to that particular part and try to make sure you use the feedback that I gave you wisely. When studying this course, and well, learning in general, I like to compare it to a mountain. Imagine that you're climbing up a mountain and you're making steps all the way up until you reach the top. This is what I call the mountain of learning. So when we have classes together, for example, when we study Monroe's motivated sequence or experiences of the color purple, I will always begin with lectures. I will lecture on skills and the content and the grammar that is required throughout that part of the course. Then, of course, we will have lesson time where you will practice your new skills. You will test them through, for example, homework, and then you will receive feedback from me. I, in general, give you written feedback, but I also record videos sometimes to be able to show you, for example, the way you spoke or the way you wrote. Eventually, I will ask you to, for example, hold a speech or to write an essay, and this is going to be the final step where you really show what you've learned. And then eventually we will assess your progress, sit down and have a chat about, okay, how did it go? Was there anything in particular you found hard or difficult? Or was there something else where you really need to be challenged the next time around? As a student in my class, you can expect that I want you to be active during classes. For example, I will draw a lolly stick from a cup where your name is going to be on it. And there's going to be a symbol I'm going to show in just a minute here. So when you see that symbol, you can expect that I will randomly draw a name where your name might pop up. If your name is drawn, it is optional to answer, but it is very much encouraged. For example, if you feel that you don't know the answer, you can pass or you can ask someone for help. Both of these are perfectly fine. However, I really do implore you to answer, because otherwise you might not have a chance to speak during class. If you feel like, oh, I don't know if I want to answer these things or not, maybe I will lecture a lot. And this is great for you as an opportunity to test yourself. You will also be to ask to actively discuss with your peers. So please try to take those opportunities to learn from one another. And once again, assessment is always going to be held at school. So assessment is speeches, essays, tests, and so on. And the reason for this is that I actually don't accept any kind of hand-in. Let's say that you are expected to write an essay and you write that text at home. I, as a teacher, have no clue whether or not it's you who actually wrote the test, if you used a spelling aid or a grammatical program that helped you. So in that case, when we come to the kursprov at the end of the course, I have no clue whether or not it's your skills that I've seen until then. And let's say maybe that it's been really, really easy for you to hold a speech at home with a script, and then you're supposed to talk without a script. It's just going to be unfair. So sometimes I will give you homework where I will ask you to write or to speak and so on, and these are perfectly fine to do at home, but these are not part of actual assessment, anything that you would call a prov in that case. And as your teacher, you can expect that I will always be quick with answering your questions. I always work between 8 and 5, and during those hours, I am very quick at responding through our communication devices like Teams and chats and so on. And you know that I will give you 100%. And once again, this is related back to the other part, that the more I can see of your skills when you speak in class, when you have your homework and so on, the better I can help you to improve even more. And lastly, you can expect of me to be fair, that I will treat you all equally, and that there's never going to be any case where I will give someone else an advantage and so on. This is just simply not fair. This symbol over there that you see, well, it's a little bit, it's right there at the moment. It's supposed to represent the lolly sticks. You'll see them whenever your name is going to be, well, possibly called. I have some rules as well. Smartphones are always going to be stowed away. You don't need them during my lessons. You have a computer that you might be needing instead. And whenever you will be randomized into groups, for example, if I ask you to do some group work, please cooperate with everyone. It's the same thing that happens in real life later when you're at the workplace. You never get to choose who's your coworker. And for example, if you disturb, I will ask you nicely to exit the classroom. And because I believe that everyone has a choice, you can either stay in class and be part of a respectful culture, or leave the classroom. And because of this, I use yellow cards for warnings and red cards and you're out, just like on a soccer field, for example. And in the case where we would have had this class in school, I would have asked you to add any of your own rules. Right, so this is where we stop this video for the time being, because the other parts are going to cover the influence over the course and eventually the written introduction letter. You can always find all of these parts of lessons and the introduction parts and everything on my webpage feke.online. So please consider going there to look at this slide if you need to. You can always find all lessons over there, and I'm looking forward to having you as a student in my class, and let's make English 7 the absolute best lesson and course that there can be. Thank you very much, and I'll see you around.